right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Obviously, we've been talking about the hurricane over the last couple days because my co-host Dex is right in the kind of path of this. Hurricane Helene, which is, of course, leaving just this crazy, crazy trail of destruction. As I said last week, it's always the ones that they don't talk about beforehand. That end up being the big ones. It's the ones that they totally hype up that just are giant, media, festivities. Usually when they, don't have anything to cover, they'll hype up a storm that's basically going to be nothing. Well, in this case, it was the opposite. A lot of people were not talking about this before it initially got this huge, huge kind of momentum. Hurricane Helene leaves a trail of devastation across south with over 30 perished and 4.4 million without power as, of course, the track of still powerful storm bears down on more states. Now, of course, we've followed the path of it going up into Tennessee and even as far as Kentucky. The path of this thing has just left destruction left and right. Some of the images that are coming out of it are pretty insane to look at. But again, they said that it has left 4.4 million people without power and at least 30 perished in across 4 different states as it battered Georgia and moved into the Carolinas early on Friday. The storm has been downgraded to a tropical depression and is located about 125 miles southeast of Louisville, Kentucky, as of Friday afternoon. So yeah, this thing was massive. And of course, we had memes all over the internet. We had weathermen going, "Oh my gosh!" It's been a pretty crazy 3 days for these states. So I'm praying that everybody makes it out of this one. Obviously, 30 lost their lives to a storm like this. So it is not something to play with. I have seen an unusual interest on X and different theories about different things with the hurricane. As far as what's going on there, I would say, keep your prayers for everybody that is still in the path of it. Even when it slows down, it can be huge dangers as far as flooding and different damages to the areas. So yeah, this was as big as a lot of people thought it was going to be. Now, before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. In situations like this, too, anybody that's sitting there and they might have access to hospitals or pharmacies, it is definitely a good thing to have extra antibiotics on hand. If you have a regional disaster like what just happened in Florida and Georgia and Kentucky and in Tennessee, it is always good to have an extra kit of antibiotics. That's what Jace does. This is a telehealth appointment you can do from your phone, from the comfort of your couch, talk to a board-certified doctor, and get yourself some extra antibiotics. Not only that, you can get a year's supply of your regular medications. Again, they don't have every medication, but they have a ton of them. So go check and marfooglenews.com/Jace to learn more. But that is something really, really great for SHTF. But it's also good for regional events where, say, the hospitals might be, shut down. The pharmacies might be down. A hack might have knocked everything down. Great thing to have. marfooglenews.com/Jace, and make sure to use the code MARF. Let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine. Weathered the storm, but still here.
Now, we're also going to talk about here in a second the stuff in what we drink, right? There is a huge, huge ordeal happening in Florida other than the storm, and that is regarding the H2O. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. Dex, do you want to cover this Roz Alert post here over on X?
Yeah, so in addition to the wind and all the other damage that can come from, including tornadoes and stuff like that, that can come from the hurricanes, the water, the amount of rain that falls is tremendous. And what we've seen here is there have been numerous dams that they have started to evacuate people because the dams are posing a risk of breaching. In particular, there were 2 that were called out, the Walters Dam and the Waterville Dam. Apparently, the Walters Dam is now A-OK, but the Waterville Dam suffered a catastrophic failure, and they were, rushing in everybody they could to get people out. I guess it's kind of strange when you think about people heading into the danger zone, but obviously there's a need to try to get as many people out upwards of, I think, 7,000 people were in the path of that one. So yeah, this is in Tennessee, I believe, is the location of that. This is the kind of stuff we got to pay attention to. And it's the kind of thing that people don't always, think about. What would happen upstream if you happen to live downstream from a major dam? And those dams are everywhere because we use them for our power.
Yeah, and it's something that most people don't prepare for. They don't prepare for contingencies that, of course, there's plans for, but are those plans going to give you back your livelihood? No. Are those plans going to, if something happens like this, a whole area of a city is flooded by a dam break or something like that, a failure, it's like there's so many people that are right below dams too, and this is throughout history, that have had a dam fail, and it's a human-made structure, fail, it comes through, it ruins and destroys everything, and you have all of these displaced families over 150 years from all of these different dam accidents, and you would think that people would prepare if they lived anywhere near a dam, but most don't, and that could be applied across the board. I think the most prepared people are probably the people of like the East Coast, the Florida, the hurricane folks, because without a doubt, every year there's bad storms, so they absolutely know they have to get prepped. But all over the country, for a good example, New York just had this weird crack open up in the middle of, I think it was Manhattan. Now, I don't know if they're going to say it's something else, but they said that maybe it was some sort of shift. People in New York, they don't prepare for an earthquake. Even if that wasn't one, when they do have, say, the Madrid go off or something, or there's a huge quake that comes out of nowhere, a tectonic fault that wasn't spotted before, people just don't prepare for the unexpected. And that's something that, of course, preppers kind of laugh at. And then the Fluoride in your H2O water poses enough risk to merit a new EPA action, a judge says. Now, this is kind of wild, and it is again in Florida. I believe it is Florida, right? This is a federal judge.
This is a federal judge. It's out of California, I believe, is where he's based.
Wow.
Yeah, this affects in general. I don't think it's any specific location.
Yeah, so this is even a bigger deal. Okay, for some reason I was thinking this was a Florida judge. A federal judge has ordered the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to further regulate that stuff in your drinking water because high levels could pose a risk to the intellectual development of the wee ones. This is a massive deal, and as you guys know, 5 years ago, my wife was doing videos on this. She actually did a very put together, bullet pointed video on, kind of a little history on this stuff, the fluoride in your toothpaste. And of course, it's been an issue for a long time. Now, a U.S. District Judge Edward Chen cautioned that it's not certain that amount of typically added to water is causing lower IQ in kids. But he concluded that mounting research points to an unreasonable risk that it could be. So there's got to be some memes in here somewhere, but literally this is a horrifying thought that if the stuff in the water is literally making people stupid. I mean, that's scary. That's like, idiocracy type stuff. Not to mention, we've talked about other stories like men's sterility is going down. What is it, like down 50% or something? Our sperm counts are down 50%. It's like, what the hell is going on? Most people attribute it to it, or at least think it's due to what is changing in our food and in our drinks. What is being changed in the lab modified stuff. It's the first time a federal judge has made a determination about a neurodevelopmental risks to the wee ones of the recommended U.S. water level of the fluorides. So this is a huge deal, and I'm sure that this is probably going to be quieted up, but it is a massive deal. And for our community that has been looking at this stuff for a long time, it's kind of like, if this goes through and if they do end up finding evidence to it, it's like, well, and I'm sure they have, then it's kind of like you were right the whole time. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about the second moon? And we both have sort of opinions on this as far as what's going on with this moon. And then if you have comments on the water as well, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, I have been in the camp with many people about, purifying that you put into your body like water and making sure it's as crystal clear and clean and only has the minerals in it you want. So, I'm glad that I've been doing that. I'm not surprised to see this type of motion coming out. It's very historic. I don't know, again, if it doesn't get a lot of play. Not a lot of people are talking about it. So, would love to see this grow further, though. If there's some real teeth to this action, I don't know.
You know why?
Could just be
Dad?
lip service. Yeah,
It's because so many people are already in the know about drinking their tap. How many people do you see nowadays that still drink their tap? Now, I'm sure there's going to be some in the audience that go, well, I'm on a private well, or we have great water in my city. But there's places like, obviously, around the country that can't even touch their water. There's places like, in the middle of the country that literally they would poison themselves if they touched their tap. So it's just crazy because it's one of these things that was kind of fed to us a little bit at a time until everybody is like, oh, well, I'm not surprised. And everybody then goes and drinks bottled water, right? Or gets their purifiers. But I think shouldn't there be some accountability about the damage it may have done? What about all of the insane rises in autism and all of these other things that are happening right now? Are they attributed to that? I would love if they did some more studies on that. Autism and other illnesses. What was the candidate? RFK did a speech, and he said that it was something like 40% more youth are on antidepressants, and just incredible amounts of mental disorders are being diagnosed in youth right now. That's just incredible. And then Dex, the second moon. Everybody has been obviously there's a debate going on right now about the second moon.
Well, this is a crazy headline. Like, we all grow up, we know we have one moon, but now they're saying we're going to have a second moon, but it's going to be temporary, and it's not even that big, and you won't even be able to see it. About 37 feet, but it's an asteroid that's going to be coming in on the same plane and be hanging out. It won't make a full orbit, but it will be hanging out by Earth for a period of time that makes it one in which they can call it, I guess, a temporary moon. So this asteroid has a name. I think it's 2024 PT5. It's a very exciting name, but it will continue its orbit afterwards and then move on about its business. So it'll only be here for a short time. You won't be able to see it unless you have some, fancy binocular or fancy equipment to be able to capture something that is this tiny, but is in our trajectory. But again, it's how often do we get to say that there is another moon? And I think that's sort of what a lot of people are excited about, because it doesn't happen all that often.
Now, somebody said, I'm interested in the comet that arrived. Now, there is also a visible comet right now. A lot of folks have been talking about that as well. As far as this other moon thing, here's the thing. We have had other asteroids come in and orbit around us. They say it's not going to do a full orbit. How does that work? Aren't we spinning, however fast? And shouldn't this thing be, if it's going to stick around for 2 months, it's not going to do one orbit? I guess I don't get how that works. I'm sure there's some reasonable explanation for it, right? But as far as these other moon things have happened, where we already know that we had another thing that was orbiting the Earth, and we called it kind of a mini moon. This one has garnered an unusual amount of attention. And one thing I've learned over time is when people are not quiet about certain things, like if they keep questioning something, usually it's because there's something that a lot of people are sniffing that's wrong with it. And like Dex said, the way that they're putting it, they're saying, well, this is a small thing. It's not even visible. It's not like, some people made it kind of sound like we were going to see another moon in our sky or something. If it's 37 feet, the size of a school bus or something, it's big enough to do some damage if it hit. But if it's orbiting us, it's not really going to be visible without really, 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 really looking. But what if it does all of a sudden randomly show up? Like, what if something, all of a sudden they're like, oh, that is the second moon thing. Why did they tell us so much in advance? Why did they make such a big deal about this? And why have people kind of latched onto this one? I think that overall, if you take the huge numbers of people that are talking about this, I don't think that you could just call it that everybody's stupid or something. No. I think when this many people are questioning something, usually after time goes by, something is weird about it. All these comments and weird things that, oh, it's going to be bright as the moon in the sky, like that one a couple years ago. And magically, from like a Tuesday to a Wednesday, it just disappeared. It's weird. So we will be following it. And if we get sightings of it, or if you get sightings of it, if you get amateur sightings of it, send it to us. You can always, of course, go to Play My Video, and you could submit either pictures or videos of what you catch. Thank you, everybody, in very sensationalized. Willie Hunt, see, I've seen that opinion, and then I've seen the opinion that they're not covering it enough. Which one is it? So, yeah, and they could sensationalize it, but they have sensationalized it for weeks now. It's been like a meme. Like, it's trended a couple times. Why? So I guess we'll see. We'll see if there's anything up. Usually it ends up being less than, exciting. So we'll see what about this one, because this is not the first time it's happened. This is the first time I've seen such an unusual amount of interest in it. Is it just a distraction, or is it something weird? Some even think it's a UFO, like it's a ship that's going to be circling us, right? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, go check out Jace if you get a chance, and make sure to follow us over on the next show, which if you're in the chat, you'll be ported right over. We're going to talk about all the rest of the current events. A huge, massive event just happened in Beirut. They're saying that they may have taken out Nasrallah, the leader of Hez. If you think that the previous 4 martyrs that just got boomed were a big deal, just wait until this happens. If that is true, I think this may be the trigger to the bigger bang. So we will see that. Dex and I will be over on the next show, so make sure to join us in just a few minutes. You guys have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. If you want to get to that next show, just click here.